Everyone, tonight is January 27th, 2025. This is the regular meeting of the Board of School Directors. The meeting is brought to you in person, for those of you in the room, at the Lower Merion School District building. It's also available via Zoom webinar. It's live streamed on our website as well at lmsd.org, and it's being video recorded with sound for public broadcast. The board believes it is in the best interest and the best interest of all the students of the district to hear community comments from the residents and taxpayers of Lower Merion. An opportunity will be given later in the meeting for public comment, both in person and through the chat feature, which will be read by Solicitor Ruse. All participants joining via webinar who wish to comment will need to use the chat feature, which will be enabled during audience recognition. If you are attending this meeting in person, you should be aware that other attendees may be recording this meeting, as permitted by the Sunshine Act, which means that any remarks that you make at your seat, at the podium, wherever you are in the room may be able to be recorded because this is a public meeting. The board strives to be respectful of all individuals making public comment and wishes everyone to be able to speak who is a taxpayer and a resident. It is an opportunity to have free expression, but it will be limited to 3 minutes. With that final wrap up of the opening area, let's turn it over to our interim superintendent.
Sounds good, thank you. I'll just tap on that.
Nope. Once you get you here, I'll start it. All right, and now you just have to tap that when you want to go.
Okay, to the next slide.
And then put it again. And then
all right.
just do this.
So, first of all, a couple of informational items. The annual Martin Luther King Day afternoon service, I'm sure our students are going to talk about it, was held. Thank you to the District HSA for sponsoring the event. We appreciate it. Students had a meaningful day of volunteerism honoring the legacy of Dr. King. Tuesday, February 11th, for those of you out there and in the audience, is a Educational Professionals Day here in Lower Merion. That's when community members, non-community members can come and have their resumes looked at, maybe possible job opportunities in the district for teachers, student services, aides. It's a wonderful opportunity, so we wish everyone could get to that who's interested possibly in working in a great school system. So today is Board Recognition Month. January is Board Recognition Month. So let me read something, and I've got a little video for you. January is School Director Recognition Month in Pennsylvania, actually throughout the nation. That allows me an opportunity at tonight's meeting to shine a spotlight on the valuable contributions of our school board members who serve all the residents of Lower Merion and Narberth, especially our children. In Lower Merion, we're fortunate to have school directors whose passionate commitment to quality public education and their community is unsurpassed. By volunteering and devoting countless hours, and each board member devotes countless hours each month to school business, they ensure the children of Lower Merion and Narberth receive the finest public education possible. The men and women seated in front of this room tonight take the time to understand the issues, the opportunities and challenges that we face in a district. The time they spend on district business is time they could devote to their families and other professional obligations. Instead, the sacrifice they make and the leadership they provide help our community remain a desirable destination for people of all ages who want a high-quality life and a world-class education. On behalf of the entire Lower Merion School District community, we'd like to recognize each of our school directors and thank them for all that you do, and thank you for your service. Yours is a difficult and often thankless job. This is the lowest level of public service. So everybody, and I say that only in this way. This is where most public, so you're a congressman or a representative, you're going away to Harrisburg or Washington. These folks in the grocery store every day are being accosted by people saying, I want this done and I want that done. So it is the most difficult of the public jobs, and we do appreciate all of you for taking that on for the benefit of our children. So thank you very much. So, and by the way, in front of you are thank you notes from our children at Kinwood Elementary School, excuse me. I'll get the names right. And we do that every year, and of course we have some flowers that those of you with a green thumb are going to ensure they'll be living next year at this time. So speaking about what school board members do, tonight gives us an opportunity to briefly tell the community about the job of a school director. So if you could please turn your attention to the short video, and it's going to describe for you the work of a school board member. There we go. Now, we have
My
sound.
name is Rachel, and I'm in the 6th grade. I was invited to go to a school board meeting to get an award, but I didn't know what the school board did. So I asked my grandpa Freddie, since he used to be on the board. He said, well, school boards are kind of like the grandparents of the
schools. They want good things for the students and staff. Even though grandparents aren't always around, we do our best to help you learn and grow. Let me see if I can explain it in another way. Think of the school board team as building a bridge between the community and the schools. They are your voice. Board members listen to parents, community members, school staff, and even the students about their hopes and dreams for their schools. They share these messages with the superintendent and other school leaders, and they advocate for their school district by speaking up for them with other elected officials and within the community. Another important job of the board is to provide direction for the schools. School board members choose a destination for the district. They might like the students to go to Topeka, Kansas, Paris, France, or even Mars. But they don't tell the staff how to get there. They empower the superintendent, staff, and students to choose their path. The board also makes a lot of decisions, like hiring a superintendent. The superintendent is the leader who makes sure the daily operations of the schools run well. The superintendent helps determine the best routes on the map, along with the staff and students. The school board also ensures that resources are in place so that the staff can complete their work and make sure students can reach their destinations. Let's say that the schools want their students to be able to play a musical instrument if they'd like, or fix a car, or understand algebra or other opportunities. The board makes sure that the school district has the money, staff, and materials in the right places at the right time to ensure success. The board and superintendent team help students complete their journey in their local schools and prepare them for the future.
After talking to Grandpa Freddie, I had a much better understanding of what school boards do. They build a bridge so that the community and the schools can communicate, and they set destinations for the schools so that I can reach my goals. The school board looks out for me, just like my grandpa and grandma do.
Very good. Thank you, members of the school board. We really appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we move on to two other members of the school board, our school student representatives. So I think this is also thank you for all that you do and to serve us. So who would like to go first this month? Hi. Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. 2025 is off to a fantastic start with one enjoyable, long-missed, old-fashioned snow day. The Martin Luther King Day of Service event took place on January 17th, where students and their caregivers were invited to participate in a variety of hands-on community service projects benefiting many worthy local organizations. Last week was the mid-year experience week, where students took their midterm exams from Tuesday, January 21st
up until Friday the 24th. Due to these exams, students were dismissed at 12 p.m. for the whole week. On behalf of the student body, I want to share our appreciation for this generous initiative, which allows us space and time to focus on our tests and study for the next day. The 15th annual Amazing Ace event took place last Friday on January 24th. Amazing Ace is part talent show, part pageant, part quest to select the best Lower Merion contestants. The event also features performances by Ace Harmony and the Lower Merion dance team. The selected contestants also raised over $7,000 for their charities of choice. On to some impressive awards and future events. Senior Bola Yang was named top scholar in Regeneron Science Talent, which is the nation's oldest and most prestigious science and mathematics competition for high school seniors. The Lower Merion players continue to put in their hard work in preparing for their production of Almost Maine, which will be taking place on January 30th to February 2nd. The Lemon Club is currently having a Krispy Kreme fundraiser to raise money for childhood cancer. The Aces will host the 11th annual Hope Classic benefiting Angelman syndrome research on Saturday, February 1st, as both the boys and girls varsity basketball teams take on their Haverford-Fords. The LMSD counseling department continues to provide us seniors with much needed support, helping us maneuver the complexities of FAFSA, student aid, and answering admission questions that we may have. Since January is the School Board Appreciation Month, I'd like to truly thank you, the board, for all you do for us as students, for putting us first, for being there, for listening, and for allowing us the space to share and be included. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya. BJ, would you like to give your report?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. This past month has brought a lot of good things to Harriton. Let's go over some of them. In December of 2024, Harriton filmed its first ever musical lip dub. Harriton staff and students can be seen in the music video singing and dancing along to their favorite holiday songs, showing their school spirit. Starting today, Harriton is assisting a food drive for the Ardmore Food Pantry. The event will run until the end of February. Please take a chance to donate some food if you can. Harriton Student Council organized an ice skating social hour event that took place at the stadium in Havertown on January 17th. It was open to all students, friends, and families who wanted to attend, giving a big turnout of people. Speaking of social events, Harriton had its second pep rally this school year. Lots of students and staff gathered in the gym to play games and watch their friends compete in races, musical chairs, and more. A great show of Harriton's school spirit by the Rams. Harriton's Black Student Union Club is currently holding a flower sale event where students can buy flowers and write notes to other students. Students can also purchase an extra teddy bear if they're feeling generous to go with their flowers. The sales will continue until next Wednesday, February 4th. Flowers and other gifts will be delivered to the recipient during an advisory period sometime next month. Lastly, Harriton Student Council is still doing lots of fundraising for the 18th Dr. Harriton event, supporting Jersey for Kids and Lower Merion Township Scholarship Fund. The show will take place sometime in the next couple of months. I would now like to share some images of the Harriton Pep Rally and the ice skating social hour that both happened earlier this month.
Pep rally 1, pep rally 2, and ice.
Thank you, and that's all from Harriton.
Thank you. That was wonderful, both of you, and we really appreciate the visuals this time. This is wonderful. And, yeah, Todd's extra happy on that. Thank you both very much. You can go. They're really skedaddle. Okay, so we're gonna do some committee reports. We're gonna actually start with policy committee. So Anna, Mel, who would like to go?
Thanks so much. I'll kick us off today. So we started the policy meeting was held on January 10th in this room and online. And we started with a discussion talking about policy AR 715 about service dogs and how in a district we have students who are entitled to service dogs, and also how some students who may have therapy dogs, there's actually different policy in implications and AR implications that fall under each. So the board and folks that were present that day, we did a lot of learning about the differences and got into the weeds at some times about how that would play out in classrooms in service of ensuring we're supporting our students that would be entitled to and in need of these services. We're bringing that back for another reading after the administration has the opportunity to dig into some of the discussions that we discussed. The next policy that we talked about was policy AR 262, students experiencing houselessness and other instability. Because not everyone was in that policy meeting, just want to shout out the admin team and the work that we do to support our students and families that are experiencing houselessness and other instabilities. It's just one aspect of the much great work that they do on a daily basis, but the main change in this policy was focused on the change of term from homelessness to houselessness, given the distinction in those two. Next, our most robust and lively discussion was about AR 2064, which is about assignments of students within the district. And so the policy allows for the superintendent to do reassignments to schools. However, there were a lot of questions and implications and opportunities for us to continue to engage in partnership with the administration to understand the implications for families and students around that policy. And so the admin is going to be working through some of those and bringing it back to committee so we can keep talking that through. And then finally, we did not get to, we started our discussion of AR 1512A. Again, we asked a few questions. This policy deals with student activities, and those of you who are frequent policy attenders remember that we've been discussing this for quite some time, the past 2 years at least, about how do we ensure that our practices are inclusive and equitable for all of our student activities, so sports and other extracurriculars, any extracurricular we can imagine. And so making sure those processes and procedures and expectations are in place. We'll be coming back to that one as well. And then finally, we were supposed to discuss AR 812 nutrition services, but we had to table that because we went over in time. Abby, Mel, or other board members that were there, anything to add? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we're going to move over to the curriculum committee report.
I've been nominated to give our report on this. So the curriculum committee met this month on January 13th in the evening in this room. First, we reviewed 2 contracts. First was the Curriculum Associates Toolbox, which is a tool system for our teachers. That'll be a really good addition. And also we renewed the contract for Habits of Mind, which is a socio-emotional learning tool that our elementary and up to 6th graders will use and have been using with at least great success in my own personal household. The main presentation that we then had, which if you were lucky enough to be at that meeting, was really, really fun and interactive because we had Mr. Mashbitz from BC come and teach a lesson through Desmos of what he would be doing in his middle school math classroom. And so we had a whole presentation that included that, but also included a greater discussion on math sequencing and readiness, and where we had a really in-depth discussion with the admin, with the board, and with the community on future pathways for sequencing and what standards would be used for promotion to advanced coursework in middle grade mathematics. We then reviewed the PAYS survey, which had a lot of really interesting feedback on mental health markers. It's an anonymous survey administered by the state, and that information is all readily available on board docs if you should choose to either look at the presentation, the video of the presentation, or the PDF of the presentation are both available on board docs for your review. The next meeting of the curriculum committee will be February 10th in this room at 7 p.m.
Thank you very much. And next on to Jason for facilities and purchasing.
Thank you. We had a wonderful facilities and purchasing meeting on January 23rd. It was a little bit longer than we would have liked, but it was really productive conversation and some great questions and feedback from the community. A couple of highlights we received. We reviewed the contract for Harridan High School's graduation and Lower Merion graduation and Villanova University. St. Joseph's University is still under construction, so this is the second year we're going to have it at Villanova. It's larger, provides more opportunity for families, and we've received a lot of feedback, positive feedback about last year's graduation at Villanova. So that was the first thing. We also discussed a district-wide security assessment, and even though the administration does review its security policies, having an independent professional security assessment is something that we thought was important as a district. And the security consultant will review the current procedures and security at all the schools in the administrative buildings and come up with recommendations. And the reason why we wanted this done at this point was that hopefully we can incorporate any suggestions that they have into the budget for the following year. So that was moved to the board meeting, and that cost $36,000 for that. We also discussed the roof conditions specifically at Lower Merion High School and Harridan High School, as well as the district office. Those are all on the capital improvement plan for the future. And we are looking to have a consultant come in to examine all three roofs to take a look and see through different types of technology whether or not their status requires us to move up their capital improvement plan, to move them up on the capital improvement plan on date-wise, or to keep them where they are. So that's another thing that we talked about. And then we also talked about, it was a long meeting, we did talk about the Balkinwood Middle School roof, that the phase one of the roof is going to be this summer, and then phase two we anticipate for the summer of 2026. We also discussed the grass field and cinder track between Kinwood Elementary School and Balkinwood Middle School. We've had an architect evaluate the track and field, and now we're looking to determine how these costs. It's going to be somewhere between $750,000 to $1 million to renovate that track as well as the grass so that it can be used. So we're looking to see how we can fit that potentially into a capital improvement plan in the future. And then the last thing that we discussed was the district-wide elementary school playground and provided an update. We discussed a bunch of different options about how to move this initiative forward. I want to thank the CSE for meeting with the administration in between. They offered invaluable feedback, which was wonderful, as to what types of playgrounds and what types of facilities would be ideal. And Dr. Mussolini has extensive experience overseeing these types of initiatives. So I want to turn it over to him for a second, just so that he can share his thoughts on the appropriate next steps regarding this initiative.
Thank you, Attorney Herman. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I would, he said not to call him Mr. So, one of the things that we discussed, Jason and I and all the board members, is getting out to an architectural firm and seeing if we can't get, first of all, the firm to evaluate the playgrounds, and then obviously we could do a charrette for the design of the playgrounds, including the community in that, as we want to design, because again, the cost of the playground is going to be dependent upon the size and the various equipment that we might want at the playgrounds. And if we're going to make them all inclusive playgrounds, we're talking about a fairly hefty cost with 15 playgrounds, or are we going to pick and choose? So that's where an architectural firm would come in and, as I said, meet with the community and meet with the board and the admin team, Jim Lill and his team, and see what we can develop. That's the right way to do it. I think the other right way to do this is that business manager or facilities director would come up with an RFP seeking a firm to do this, and then the board would interview a few of the firms that have background with this and choose one and go from there. Certainly, there's a cost to do a feasibility study in putting something together. I don't think the cost is that great to be prohibitive. But that's what, as Jason and I talked, there's a right way and a wrong way. And I believe wholeheartedly that the right way is to engage with somebody that does this.
So our hope and our expectation is that from now until the next facilities and purchasing meeting, that the administrative team will put together what they view as a RFP for it, and then we'll be able to examine it at facilities and purchasing, and then we'll bring it to the board for that.
We'll get with Vic and Jim, and I think we can we have enough contacts that we can get something together. Other districts around us have done this, and then we can let you guys see it and see if you want to move forward on it.
Perfect.
I mean, that's up to you.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And that concludes what we discussed at our facilities and purchasing meeting. Oh, last thing was that we do have to change our facilities and purchasing meetings going forward. Currently, they're on Thursdays at 12 o'clock. They'll stay on the same day. They're just going to be moved till 9:30 in the morning. They'll still remain on Zoom, and that's so that we can accommodate some scheduling conflicts with the superintendent. So we'll post that will be posted on.
It's already on the district calendar.
See that?
And, it's already taken
All right,
care
you're
of.
one step ahead. Thank you, Denise. So just so the community knows, so it will be moved till 9:30, same exact day, and it will still remain as Zoom, and we welcome and hope that we get as much community input and feedback as we've had the last couple meetings, so thank you.
Wonderful, thank you both. And now we're moving on to the Finance Committee meeting report. Todd?
Yeah, so thank you. The finance meeting was actually at the end of last year. So the last finance meeting was December 20th. And what the bulk of that meeting, as we do every year at that time, is to review the state mandated external auditors report. And that's reviews all monies through the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th of last year. That whole report is on board docs. It's zillions of pages long. You can read it, but it has all the money in, all the money out. A few take-home messages. There were no red flags. All the external auditors' numbers were consistent with our internal accounting. I always think it's remarkable that, at the beginning of the year, you put together a budget and then you see where you land. And we landed within 1%. So 99.2% or something of the money that Vic thought we were going to need, we spent. Right? I mean, think of your own house. If you actually were that accurate, we're way out at home. But anyway, so, but on a $330 million budget. So it's quite impressive, actually. So there were $2 million or so left that were left over. It's better than being $2 million short, right? That money goes into the capital reserve fund, which is going to go into the roof we just talked about for the summer. So basically, there's not much left over. So the other impressive take-home thing, and that's what I've realized more after being on this side of the table over the past year, is how little discretionary money the school actually has. So if you, it's about 90% of the money that the taxpayers pay. All of it's mandated and it's locked in. There's no, it's salaries and benefits. It's, and then guys, this big thing that we have is debt. So we are carrying around a lot of debt as a district, and last year I think it was 10.1% of the tax money went to simply servicing the debt. So we only are operating the schools on about 10%, and that's everything. That's all the curriculum, the books. I mean, and if we want to do a roof, and that's the other thing. These roofs are so expensive. It's like it costs $800,000 a year basically to have a roof on a high school. It's a huge amount of money. So we have to replace a roof on the high school. It's going to be like $12–15 million. That money is not in the budget. Okay? If we have to replace 15 playgrounds at several $100,000 to $500,000 a playground, that money is not in the regular budget. So we began to talk a little bit about where these monies could come from. There are different mechanisms to do that, and these will be featured in the finance meetings going forward. What the administration is going to do is they're going to look at all the mandated programs, look at the non-mandated things, do the best they can to close the budget. As I understand, it's going to be one of the most challenging budgets Vic's ever had to work with in the coming year. And then as a board, the administration will come with a recommendation, and then the board will vote on some options, and that'll be big time, February, March, April, and then we have to submit the final budget to the state. And that final number can't be negative at the bottom of the final budget, so we got to close it. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful as well. And now we're ready for audience recognition. At this time, we will hear public comment. If you'd like to speak at tonight's meeting and have not signed up with Ms. LaPere, please do so now. For those of you joining us via webinar, the chat feature will be open and you will see a 10-minute timer appear on your screen. You can submit your comments and/or questions via the chat feature. Please be sure to begin with your full name and where you reside within the district in order for your comment to be shared. Both in person and online is a 3-minute window of time that you can share your comment. And Ms. LaPere, do we have any comments for in person tonight? Sorry, try to say it nice and slow.
Hi, I'm Mona Elshax from Narberth. My father's family is Muslim, my mother's family is Christian, and my husband's family is Jewish. And I've been blessed to witness the warmth and generosity of all three cultures. But I see multiple perspectives that others do not. So that makes me feel like an other at times. So it's from this perspective that during board appreciation, I would like to say thank you, President Carrie Sotner, for your work to ensure that our schools are inclusive and welcoming to all our students, regardless of race, ethnicity, learning differences, disability, religion, and LGBTQ identity. I know you are a champion for all of our students and that you are working under challenging conditions to move things forward for our vulnerable students. At a time when anti-Semitism is on the rise, thank you for trainings that have been held on anti-Semitism and for partnering with the Jewish Community Relations Council and the Weitzman Museum of American Jewish History to do more work. Thank you for also bringing in groups like Facing History to bring multiple perspectives to our schools. And also, thank you, Anna Shurak, and other school board members for working with President Sotner to push for a safe learning environment. Thank you to the board members who do support equity and inclusion for the countless hours that you volunteered, and for others who are working on tough things like debt and fixing that. So there's always more work to do. And we as a community need to support our leaders who are making schools more inclusive. In hard times like now, I choose love. If you want to join me, let's lift each other up. Let's build a safe community for all our children, and let's have fun doing it, because I love having fun, and I'm not going to let them steal my joy. We will work together against all forms of prejudice. It will take hard conversations and respect. We will listen and build relationships. We will call each other out respectfully when something hurtful is said, and we will give each other a chance to be better. We will apologize when we should. If you are someone who wants to build supportive schools for all of our children, it's 1 minute, I got a minute, okay. If you want to build supportive schools for all our children, please contact me. Let's build a coalition. I look forward to knowing you and working alongside of you. Thank you, all on board appreciation.
Erica Windish, Jill Altschuler, Ruth Jenkins.
Oh, yes, what's the order? More than one. Erica's next.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Erica Windish. I'm a taxpayer and parent to children in our district at the middle and high school levels, but we've been here since, I think, 2016. We actually moved from another district because I felt like they were not inclusive enough and didn't have the policies to protect my children, and moved to this district because of our non-discrimination policy, AR 259. However, one of my children experienced bullying, suspension, and hospitalizations related to fights initiated by others in response to their gender identity, and poor communication regarding bathroom use when visiting sibling schools or attending events at other schools, such as when they're moving from elementary to middle. These issues are pertinent and compounded by recent federal action such as the executive order titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government. This order challenges Pennsylvania's Human Rights Relations Acts and AR 259 by denying the ruling of Bostock. Meanwhile, AR 259 has gaps. It doesn't address the rights of guests and parents visiting district buildings or teachers, leaving room for inequity and uncertainty. Our policies must ensure dignity and respect for everyone who interacts with our schools. I'm also concerned about the district's facilities use agreement with Villanova University. While I'm uncertain of the current policies and I'm not aware of any problems currently at Villanova, I'm deeply troubled by the rapid rise of anti-equity and sex segregationist forces rapidly driving changes at our institutions across this country. I personally have encountered situations where I've been planning to attend an event and then the rules at that venue changed and I was no longer welcome. So I'm concerned that we should address the waiver at Villanova to ensure that our students, staff, and guests, that they're compliant with district policies, and that those rules cannot change between now and when that event occurs, and to also address the changing federal landscape and to be in defense of potential Supreme Court rulings to consider addressing the gaps in AR 259 and to eliminate segregated single-sex spaces and activities in favor of inclusive, non-designated facilities and activities that respect the dignity of all attendees. This is legally defensible and reflects the values we want to instill in our children. And I guess that's all my time. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ready for me? Yeah. Okay. Hi, Jill Altschuler, Marion Station. Welcome back, Ms. James Coles. Good to see you. This is about 75% complete, so it's just going to drop off at the end. So hopefully the first part will make sense. I'd like to comment on the student mental health portion of the PAYS data presentation that was given 2 weeks ago at the curriculum committee meeting that I was unable to attend. It was reported that compared to the last survey in 2021, the percentage of students who felt depressed or sad most days in the past 12 months decreased from 33% to 28.3%. which is still somewhere between a quarter and a third of students who took the survey, and decreased from 23.6% to 18.8% for those who answered, "Sometimes I think that life is not worth it." The percentage of students who seriously considered suicide also decreased from 14.6% to 12%. While a decrease is certainly a good thing, these results, these percentages, are not okay by any means. I would like to assume that the administration will use this very important information to figure out how best to address this problem. And I would like to expect that you will be very transparent and communicative about it for the community. In terms of what the PAYS, just one little clip from their website, is that for those who don't know, it gathers local data and information needed to identify appropriate prevention and intervention programs and strategies. And schools, government agencies, et cetera, use the data to assess issues facing youth and identify programming that can be used to address the locally identified problems, select curricula, demonstrate the need for funding through grant submissions, et cetera, and to judge the effectiveness of current prevention and intervention efforts and to make appropriate corrections. We don't always do a great job of measuring things here in the district, I think everyone knows, but it's never too late to start. And while it's incredibly important to help students who are already struggling with mental health challenges, there is so much that could be done at a proactive and preventative level. There's a lot that's presented about the reactive crisis level, which is obviously important, but let's keep kids from getting there. And that's about it, because I could go on, but I think you get the gist, and I'd love to have more conversation if invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Ruth Jenkins, Jamie, I think it's Garina, and then John Bellis.
Ruth Jenkins, Winwood. Today is the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz concentration camp, one of several camps throughout Europe that systematically murdered 6 million Jews and several million gay people, handicapped people, disabled people, gypsies, adults, and children. As conspiracy theories have and bad information rapidly pollute dialogue, especially online, it's easier for hate groups to indoctrinate new followers, particularly teens, who do not know the history. Our schools need to be historically literate due to the rise worldwide of anti-Semitism. It's imperative that the history be taught responsibly and thoughtfully. If we forget the past, we're doomed to repeat it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Sorry, you couldn't read my handwriting. Jaime Garcia, Penn Valley. I want to bring up two things today at today's board meeting. First, thank you all for the service you're doing. I appreciate it. I do not envy you. I know that it's very difficult to make everybody happy, but I know that you are operating with our children's best interest at heart. So with that, the first comment first maybe perhaps question is there a plan to address immigration agency enforcement coming to our school district? If there is one, I have not seen it. I think that, and I hope that we don't have to deal with this, but ideally we would have a plan in place before, and the language in place for both the students, the administration, the teachers, superintendent, whoever may be, so that we can make sure that we're taking care of our students that are immigrants here. And the second thing I want to do is I want to address a comment that was made on December 20th, December 16th here by a fellow member of the community, where they said, rhetorically, is it okay to say that the state of Israel is perpetrating a genocide? Yes. Now, this, I would never in a million years think I would have to say anything or address this publicly, but my son, on October 7th this year, who is half Israeli, was wearing an IDF sweatshirt to commemorate October 7th, where more than half of his family is currently fighting to get the hostages returned and destroy the terrorist force of Hamas. He was wearing his sweatshirt proudly, and a student said to him, "You know that you're wearing the sweatshirt of a country that's perpetrating a genocide." He handled it admirably in the moment. The other student in question later sent an email via the school email system to my son saying "Free Palestine" with a bunch of watermelons and the Palestinian flag, and then followed that up with a text message over the weekend. I believe that the school handled the situation excellently. My son handled it excellently, but it was also brought to my attention that perhaps that this had not been escalated and it's not being measured. I want to make sure that when we speak as a community, that we're doing the best to make sure we're making all our children feel welcome and safe. So to that, I just ask that we show a little empathy to our Jewish neighbors, especially now when, as Ruth said, anti-Semitism is on the rise, and also I don't think it would have hurt to have sent out an email about Holocaust Commemoration Day today. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
John Bellis, then I think it's Sarah Scheffler, Luke Powell.
Good evening, John Bellis, Wynwood. I have a son at Penn Wyn and another in preschool. I spoke at the November school board meeting about wait until 8th, which is the free, voluntary, nationwide promise that parents are making with each other to delay the smartphone and social media until the end of 8th grade. My 3-minute speech was received positively by the audience and from some of the board members, including Dr. Saltner and the then acting superintendent, Ms. Schaefer. Alexander Parfit from Penn Valley spoke about it at the December school board meeting also. Since then, our little movement has gained momentum with approximately 10 to 25% of each grade at Penn Wyn and Penn Valley pledged to delay the smartphone, thanks largely to an email campaign that Alexandra and I took upon ourselves to initiate. Obviously, since all 6 elementary schools funnel up into the same 3 middle schools, it doesn't do much good if even 100% of Penn Wyn and Penn Valley were pledged to delay, because all the other schools would join them in middle school. So we need to get the rest of the elementary schools aware of this movement so that when the kids graduate up to the middle school, there's a large percentage of the student body who are in the same boat, that is to say, who are not addicted to the smartphone or social media. To that end, the easiest way we can think of to build awareness of this pledge is to add a permanent flyer like this one to each school's HSA weekly newsletter and to each school's Thursday envelope. Penn Valley already has the link in their Thursday envelope, but I'm not sure yet that it's permanent or that it's in their HSA newsletter. Penn Wyn, where we are, our HSA president is supportive and had got the flyer included in the newsletter once or twice, but she tells me that, quote, only a principal or Amy Buckman can approve a flyer for permanent inclusion in the newsletters or Thursday envelopes. So I'm frustrated because I asked Ms. Buckman and our school principal about this months ago, about how to make this happen, and I was told by them that the ISC had to approve such things. Lisa Prosnitz, the ISC co-president, is a supporter and had approved the flyer back in November, but yet there still seems to be friction in getting it to show up in both places on a regular basis. I'm new to this world. I apologize for my ignorance, but can the board please give us some clarity on what exactly we need to do to get this flyer included in both the HSA newsletters and the Thursday envelopes at all 6 elementary schools on a permanent basis? I want to reiterate, this pledge costs nothing, it's voluntary, it's risk-free, it's popular with the teachers and the parents. Importantly, the pledge does not apply to dumb phones, video games, iPads, etc. It is only focused on smartphones and social media accounts. Thank you for your guidance. I hope the board will provide an answer to my simple question tonight so that we can focus our efforts properly within the administration's framework for getting such things approved.
Thank you very much.
Sue, I think it's Scheffler, Luke Powell, and then Johan Chen.
I think it's Sarah, yeah. That's okay. I do have to say that I wrote this right after the December 16th meeting, so I was a little bit heated. I've since calmed down, but just FYI. My name is Sarah Scheffler, and I live in Ardmore. I'm a mother to a 5th grader in the district. Prior to this school year, I had little interest in the activities of the district's senior administration, but a few factors have compelled me to take notice. I am part of LM's Grassroots Jewish Family Association, the JFA, which I found from my participation in other local Jewish solidarity groups formed after the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel, and in response to the rising anti-Israel sentiment and related anti-Semitism, which is swelling in our local community. The JFA has tried to preempt this aforementioned hate from bubbling up in the district by volunteering vetted resources and offering partnerships. The board's slow response to anti-Semitism has only made matters in the district worse, providing an opportunity for people with fringe ideology that even exists in the Jewish community to rise up and undo positive steps forward between the majority in the Jewish community and the district. And now all seems too little too late. On a related note, I want to take a moment to share my continued disappointment with the board's almost unanimous apathy toward the Israeli student who had bravely stood before the board 2 times and asked for action. The rare silence of the board on this particular student issue speaks volumes. I implore the board to right the ship by productively working with the JFA. Further, a common misstep of the board is pitting different communities in this district against each other. When the board refuses to recognize the true grievances of each community respectively, the board weakens its response to both communities. Going forward, please pause before using conjunctions to lump groups together. This practice of conflation is not honorable or efficient. After viewing countless meetings led by the board, it is clear to me that the district is not appropriately resolving issues in many communities. During the December 16th meeting alone, I learned from 2 steadfast mothers during public comment, kudos to them, that the district covertly made a murky IXL curriculum change that will be greatly impacting students. I'm still a little confused about what it even is. That our playgrounds are not accessible to all of its students, which is shocking to me, although it sounds like it's maybe going to be covered in the facilities considerations. And that there's also anti-Muslim hate happening, which should absolutely be addressed, but not in combination with the anti-Semitism also happening. All of these aforementioned stakeholders deserve time and attention. If members of the board cannot find a way to independently meet the needs of all these communities, then the board needs to reevaluate its practice and look to other models that have been successful in uplifting diverse groups. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Luke Powell, Yohong Chen, and then Holly Salzberg.
Good evening. My name is Luke Powell, and I live in Gladwin. I've lived here my whole life. I went to LMSD. Scott Weinstein was my principal at Harriton. And now I can say with pride that I am an educator in this district as well. I'm proceeding with my concerns with a deep love and appreciation for this district and its goals to be a prominent ally in the fight against discrimination at all levels. 2 Fridays ago, I and the entire district attended a professional development meeting titled Understanding and Including Anti-Semitism When Challenging Bias in School Communities, led by members of the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia and the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL. This was part 1 of a 3-part series addressing issues of hate, prejudice, and civil discourse. I must heavily emphasize that anti-Semitism, along with systematic racism, anti-blackness, Islamophobia, anti-LGBTQ, and all other forms of discrimination are incredibly important to learn about, discuss, and combat now more than ever, especially in our education system. Today is also a particularly important day to recognize this as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. In light of that, I believe that there were several gaps that prevented this training from being as nuanced, critical, and beneficial as it needed to be. As we move forward through the school year, and especially in light of the upcoming second part of this series that will focus on continuing the efforts of the civil rights movement today, we must do better when it comes to how we talk about these issues in a way that encourages clarity and understanding. The fact that there was so little time at the conclusion of this training for questions or discussion with the presenters or our colleagues did not encourage said clarity nor understanding. Anti-Semitism is an incredibly complex and storied form of discrimination that I believe requires room to breathe, especially in the current political terrain that is the backdrop of these trainings. The personal experiences and perspectives of a single educator, let alone the entire district staff, should have ample opportunity to be voiced and discussed in a fluid and attentive manner. The format of this training did not achieve this, which I feel is a deep disservice. Secondly, we must also be truthful and mindful regarding the bias through which we are presented information. All of us have bias, both implicit and explicit, and even that includes organizations that seek to dismantle bias as a root of discrimination. I felt strongly that the training quickly devolved from a historical and anecdotal module on anti-Semitism into a biased view of current global politics. When faced with a format that, again, did not encourage discussion or questions, and when we as educators are meant to maintain a certain air of, quote, political neutrality in our work, I believe that the original aims of this training become lost and confusion arises. It felt as though it became more about the contributors talking at us about a complex political issue, rather than talking with us about how to best move forward as educators in how we identify, handle, and properly manage incidents of discrimination. Moving forward, we as educators need a proper space to voice our questions, comments, or concerns with the presentations. Additionally, we must be more careful and open in how we partner with organizations that have problematic histories and specific biases that cloud the framing of our discussions of all forms of hate, discrimination, and how to best combat them, especially when it comes to the NAACP-led meeting coming up. Lord knows I've seen more anti-Black instances in my 2 years being here than I would like to admit. Thank you.
Thank you.
First, we have Yohang Chen. No? Okay, I'm sorry. Then Holly, you are next. After Holly, we have Daphne Ofer, then Adrian Seltzer, Cheryl Masterman, and Mia Carpinelli.
Hi, I'm Holly Salzberg-Duncan from Wynwood. Thank you. I say thank you every time, so thank you. Today, on International Holocaust Remembrance Day, we honor the 6 million Jews murdered simply for being Jewish. The Holocaust was the ultimate act of genocide, a horrifying attempt to exterminate an entire people. It reminds us of the devastating consequences of unchecked hatred and lies. I'm here to address the dangerous and false claim that Israel is committing a genocide that has been brought up. This simply is not true and has been disproven repeatedly. Genocide is the deliberate extermination of a people. The real genocide occurred on October 7th when Hamas, a recognized terrorist organization, brutally murdered over 1,400 innocent civilians, including children, women, elderly, in their homes and at a music festival because they were Jewish. Hamas's actions and intentions are clear. Their charter explicitly calls for the destruction of Israel and the murder of Jews worldwide. Meanwhile, Israel defends itself while taking extraordinary steps to protect innocent lives, even under the most difficult circumstances. As a community, we must remain committed to teaching truth and ensuring that education is rooted in accuracy. Our students, staff, and community benefit from ongoing education and professional development that helps them understand the facts about Israel, modern-day anti-Semitism, and the dangers of misinformation. Accurate education is essential to building a foundation of truth and rejecting hatred in all its forms. On this day of remembrance, let us continue our commitment to fostering an environment of understanding, compassion, and truth. We owe it to our future generations to ensure that hatred and lies have no place in our schools, our community, and our world. And I do appreciate you taking actions to keep ensuring that. So thank you, and we'll continue to do more and do better. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daphne Ofer. I live in Balakinwood, and I wanted to first start by thanking you for all your hard work and dedication, trying to keep our schools, welcoming everybody. Just a few words on myself. I'm an Israeli American, proud Israeli American. I've moved here just a month before 9/11, and I've been 19 years with this district. I have 5 children. 4 of them graduated from Lower Merion High School. My son is a freshman. And I'm also a physician in my background. I work at UPenn, and since October 7th, I started advocating in the community to raise awareness to the hostages. I'm part of the JFA, Jewish Family Association, and many other activities. As others mentioned, today is National Holocaust Remembrance Day. Both my grandparents and my uncle were murdered in the Holocaust. I never got to know them. My father luckily moved to Israel before the Holocaust. And I wanted to strengthen what a lot of other people said here before. Anti-Semitism is on the rise, and essential is to bring proper education to our schools. And I truly appreciate you working with some of the organizations that we have offered. However, as others said, this training isn't sufficient and sometimes isn't very accurate. Many school board members, staff, teachers, and students need further education, and we would love to work with you together to bring the proper education. That session of training on just before MLK weekend I've had a conversation with some of the teachers that went through it. Most teachers did go through it, and I did hear their frustration about this. Although I think the history and all that part were accurate, but again, the fact that there was no opportunity to any comments or questions at the end, and other technical issues. I really also wanted to answer to the December 16th meeting. As others said, Israel is not committing a genocide. If anything, the Arab Muslim population in Israel grew tremendously from about 150,000 to over 2 million, same as in Gaza, even to this day. So I really want to make sure that these things, there's blood libels, are not really accepted here in the school board meetings in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Adrienne Seltzer, Wynwood. I want to thank the board for their work, and I want to thank the members of the community that came up and mentioned Holocaust Remembrance Day. I think that's important that we all know that. And in that light, I just want to say, hate does not stop hate. Equity is not a zero-sum game. The only way we combat anti-Semitism is by forming alliances with other groups, not alienating them. And I think that that we can't get lost in that alienation of other groups. We have to keep on task of working together to make sure that no one group or any group is marginalized, is not. The purpose of DEI is so that everybody feels like they belong. Not one group versus another, again, not a zero-sum game. It is because so everyone feels like they belong. When you have diversity, people see other people that look like them. When you have equity, everybody has opportunity. When you have inclusion, people feel like they belong. And that's what the goal is supposed to be. And anyone else that is saying differently just doesn't have all the information. So I want to thank you for your work. And this is not easy. I was never so glad to lose an election when I ran for school board in 2017. So I do appreciate all you do. And how much time did I have? Oh, that's okay. I'm done.
Thank you.
Cheryl Masterman, Villanova. Adrienne, you stole my thunder.
That's good, great minds.
Ditto. All right. As a former ISC president for 2 years and an HSA president for 3 years, I know what it's like to work behind the scenes, and I've seen what this board does on a day-to-day basis. And as Adrienne said, it's not easy. And I think it's great that we have this opportunity to appreciate you all, because I don't want to be in your shoes either. But the administration also does really hard work, and I appreciate you as well. And I just want to reiterate that what we're doing is for all of our children. And whenever we can remember that folks in our community are angry, it's because they're coming from a place of fear, and they want what's best for their kids. But if our community and our board and our administration can remember that we all will benefit from taking care of each other's kids and keeping everybody safe and allowing everyone to succeed. We're not perfect. We don't do it the best way possible at all times, but we learn from our mistakes and we move forward, and I believe that's what LMSD is about. And that's what I've seen for the past 12 years, and I am confident that it will continue. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mia Carpinello from Marion. Cognizant that I'm the last speaker, so I'm going to keep it really brief. I'm a longtime resident of Lower Marion, actually also grew up in this community, and I just came tonight to express my gratitude for the commitment of the board that you've shown over the years to equity as it impacts our children. I'm particularly grateful to our president, Dr. Saunter, and Anna Sharek for your efforts, in particular for leading the board to prioritize inclusive practices for tracking harmful speech in our schools. So many of our students are marginalized from marginalized groups, and they're really, as we all know, are feeling more and more marginalized in light of national political developments. And so in times like these, our children really need your support more than ever. So urging you to please continue to foster a school environment where our most vulnerable students from all groups look to their local community as a haven from the awful, despicable rhetoric and policies that we see at the national level. I and my family and so many of my neighbors want to live in a community of love and support for all students, and I hope the school board will continue to be a model in that regard. Thank you.
And that's it for the
Thank you. Solicitor Ruse, would you like to read the online comments, please?
Yes, happy to. First comment, actually, they didn't put their full name in, so I don't know who it is. Second comment, Justin Villaire, Winwood, Penwood Elementary. A 90-second comment supporting wait until 8th. Stephanie Antar, can't tell where, 3 kids in the district. I am most grateful for our school board president, Dr. Sautner, for standing up for inclusion for all children. Thank you to the board members who work with the goal to include all students and treat them with equity and justice. Sana Garner, Ardmore, thank you to the school board for all that you do in service of our students and the community. I attended the facilities meeting. There was discussion of establishing an email address where the community can share fundraising, design, etc. input. Was this made? If so, can you please share it? Or is community input on hold for now based on the plan to engage with architecture firms first? Next, Esther Schwartzman, Bryn Mawr. Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day, a time to remember the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust and the millions of other victims of Nazi persecution. Paul Costa, Marion Station. Thank you to all the board members who are working to ensure our students have a safe and supportive school environment. I am very concerned about the national dialogue right now, which is targeting our most vulnerable populations, such as transgender people. As a LMSD community, we should be protecting and lift up such communities, not vilifying them. I am really grateful for LMSD's efforts in the past, and I hope you will continue to stand up for our marginalized students now. Michelle Vessel Gladwin. I would like to share with the school board and the community that the last policy meeting where they discussed the policy regarding service dogs for over 40 minutes, that we do not have anybody in our school district currently using service dogs. There was a guest speaker waiting who could not speak because you did not leave enough time for him. He was to speak regarding the nutritional policy 812. It would have been more beneficial to prioritize this policy regarding student wellness and food services. We currently have a coffee and espresso bar open to selling our children coffee, espresso, cappuccino, lattes, etc., when the American Academy of Pediatrics does not recommend drinking caffeine for young adults. The service dog policy was only brought up because our solicitor's law firm did it for another district, so the thought, why not do it here? It was not a priority or a need of compliance change. I hope in the future you will prioritize what policy you give so much of your time. Kim Lippitz, Narberth. I'd like to recognize publicly that today is Holocaust Memorial Day, and Lower Merion High School JSU brought in a survivor to speak. Incredibly important, and thank you to JSU. Jewish Student, which stands for Jewish Student Union. Jessica Gaber, Narberth. I am the parent of 2 children in LMSD. I am in support of the equity policy and of the direction our district has been headed over the past few years, and want the board and district to continue to make strides on equity and inclusion. Teresa Doggett, Marion Station, resident and parent of 3 LMSD students. I'd like to take a moment to echo the comments recognizing the Lower Merion School Board of Directors for their tireless efforts in moving critical school district issues forward. In particular, I'd like to thank the board members, especially Board President Dr. Carrie Sautner, who stand up for the inclusion for all of our students, work with the board, administration, and the community to ensure they're prioritizing inclusive practices and respond effectively to the recent rise in incidents of hate speech. From defending the district's equity policy this fall to ensuring members of the board, administration, and staff engaged in appropriate and necessary trainings focused on anti-Semitism and other forms of hate, to encouraging and engaging in conversations with various community groups and stakeholders to understand their feedback and use it to adjust moving forward. Thank you for all that you do. I urge us all to continue this work. And that concludes the comments.
Thank you very much for everybody. We really appreciate all the support for the board, and I just would like to publicly thank the board members that I've worked with over the last year and a half, all together as this team, and just very grateful for all of your minds, your hearts, and your work that you put forward in every single piece of it. And I also appreciate the high quality of board reports tonight because they were entertaining. So thank you all very much. Now we're gonna move on to business. So let's go there. Sure. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Ruse. At this time, we will move forward with approving tonight's agenda. So everyone, do I have a motion to approve all the items listed in the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Mr. Ruse will now make an announcement required by the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act.
Actually, no announcement is required. There was no executive session since the last board meeting.
Do you have any? Great. Sorry, just one real quick thing. Do you want to comment about the board email from the playgrounds right now? No, okay. Wait for the order. We're gonna wait. Good, thank you. Okay, sorry for that little sidebar. Okay, the next meeting's coming up. Board meetings will be held in this room at 7 p.m. Tuesday, February 18th is the regular business board meeting. The committee meetings that will come up that you heard about earlier will also be on webinar and live stream. February 7th is policy at 9 a.m. February 10th is curriculum at 7 p.m. That will be in here. February 13th, facilities and purchasing at 9:30 a.m. via Zoom. Greta, that's everything. One more thing, Denise. Did I miss it?
Because I just remembered the book club for ISC. You were going to mention something, I believe.
Well, so actually, I think I'd rather Megan mention something because she's working on it. But there is an ISC book club. So Meg, if you would kind of give some of the background, please. Thank you. Thank you. And there you go. You're ready.
So we'd love to invite, on behalf of the ISC and the district administration, I'd be pleased to invite anyone who is interested in attending a book club event where we are reading the book Hidden Potential. No pressure. You can read Cliff Notes. It's okay. We just would love for you to join us in conversation. The first night we will be convening at Black Rock Middle School beginning at 7. The information is on the website, correct, Amy Buckman, and on the calendar. And we'll have some facilitators there for a lively conversation. A really nice opportunity to be out of the spotlight and casually enjoy some conversation with our community. So we encourage everyone to pick up a book or grab the Cliff Notes and join us beginning on February 11th. 12. Shoot.
12 and 25th.
Is that what you're
Just
trying
do
to
it
tell me? The 12th and the 24th. Thank you.
And, you know, I also think that Megan is providing dinner for everyone that is. Is that wrong, Megan? I'm sorry. I thought I had that.
Now
Sorry.
she is.
No,
Now
they
she
will-
is, okay.
They will
all right.
have refreshments and.
Of course I'm
light
kidding.
snacks.
Okay, and with that, we began tonight, oh, okay, you're done, you're not jumping back in? Okay, so we began tonight with saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think it is very telling for what everybody shared tonight that we end with at least a few words of that Pledge of Allegiance. We remind ourselves that it says, "For liberty and justice for all." So thank you all very much. Have a lovely night, and this meeting is adjourned.